Welcome to the 700 Club. Thanks so much for joining us. One nation under God and, unfortunately, one religion under God. That's what one former Trump national security advisor, his name is Michael Flynn, called for on stage in a Texas church.
Well, Flynn's comment caused a flurry of blowback from Christian leaders concerned about the rise of religious nationalism. Heather Sells explains.
A movement called the Reawaken America Tour has hosted sellout crowds in churches and other venues this year, offering a mix of worship, medical advice, and politics. It attracted national attention, however, for a recent event at San Antonio's Cornerstone Church. Video of the crowd breaking out in this chant, a euphemism for a vulgar threat against President Biden, went viral over the weekend, leading some faith leaders like Pastor Sam Rodriguez and Southern Baptist President Ed Litton to condemn it. Litton told CBN News Christians should reject the callous methods and crude sloganeering of secular politics. Another viral moment, former Trump National Security Advisor General Michael Flynn calling on stage for a national religion.
So if we are going to have one nation under God, which we must, we have to have one religion, one nation under God and one religion under God.
Rodriguez, who commended Flynn for his years of government service, told CBN News Michael Flynn is constitutionally and morally wrong to advocate for one religion emerging out of America. Religious liberty serves as the central firewall against totalitarianism. And Litton, as a Baptist, we reject the idea that any person will come to saving faith through government coercion. We therefore reject any notion of a state church. Flynn later defended his comment in a statement saying he's worried about religious persecution. Wheaton College's Andrew McDonald says he understands that many Christians are concerned about the secularization of our culture, but that they shouldn't want the government telling them what to believe.
I don't think they should have that power, and I think one of the greatest geniuses of America is that we don't have to do that. We can live together and be on mission for the gospel at the same time.
Conservative author Rod Dreher says one religion would gut the First Amendment and be a disaster for Christians.
If we have to have only one religion in this country, who's to say that religion might not be some form of wokeness, which is a lot more popular with the younger generation than traditional biblical Christianity.
Cornerstone Church told CBN News that while it allowed Reawaken America to use its space, it does not endorse its views. Reawaken's Clay Clark told CBN News he couldn't speak to Flynn's comment, but defended his use of the Let's Go Brandon chant at Cornerstone, saying many pastors use their pulpits for political purposes. In recent years, Christians have struggled more with the mixing of faith and politics, what some call Christian nationalism. It's a difficult line to navigate, keeping patriotism and politics separate from love of God and places of worship. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Well, at the risk of stating the obvious, theocracies do not work. They've never worked in history. And whenever you have a state religion, you end up with no freedom. Here in America, we don't have that. There is no established religion, and there should never be an established religion. I'm obviously a great fan of first-century Christianity, and I hope I could be successfully accused of being a Christian. But at the same time, that is my freedom of conscience, and I get to follow that, and I want everyone to have that freedom of conscience. Enforced religion is no religion at all. Compulsory religion, no religion at all. We have to have the freedom. And that means the freedom of conscience, even to believe that there is no God. That is the United States of America. That's what it means that there's no establishment of religion. That's also what it means that Congress shall pass no law prohibiting the free exercise of religion. I have that freedom. I want to stay in that freedom. I do not want to live on any other system. Well, in other news, a big blow to President Biden's vaccine mandate. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration says it will not enforce it. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That's right, Gordon. The agency, OSHA, made that announcement on its website after a federal court temporarily blocked the mandate. And many other legal challenges to the order are working their way through the legal system as well. CBN's Charlene Aaron has the story.
The order, which would have gone into effect January 4th, calls for businesses with 100 or more employees to either require vaccinations or weekly testing for the unvaccinated. OSHA said it was complying with the court order. Last week, a 3-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit kept its hold in place on the mandate, calling the government's order, quote, fatally flawed, and saying it raises serious constitutional concerns. In addition to the legal challenges to the president's federal mandate, protests against state mandates are also taking place.
Raise your hand if you support your neighbor's right to decide whether or not to vaccinate their child, and you simply ask for the same in return.
In California, parents and teachers rallied at the state capitol against Governor Gavin Newsom's vaccine mandate for students.
For a woman, it's hard for me to tell her who birthed this child what to do with that child.
Yeah.
Across the country, the number of COVID cases have increased 27% in the past 3 weeks. But as the numbers rise, new treatments are on the way. Pfizer this week asking regulators for approval for an experimental pill, which promises success in combating COVID.
Within 3 days of the symptoms, you have now 89% protection from disease, leading to hospitalization with our medicines. And the data indicate 100% protection from death.
And an advisory panel will discuss expanding eligibility for COVID booster shots on Friday, and they could be available by the weekend. Moderna and Pfizer have filed for emergency use authorization for their boosters to be given to all adults 18 and up. While more treatments are becoming available for those who want them, the president's vaccine mandate could face a very difficult road ahead in the legal system, with challenges likely to go to the Supreme Court. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Thank you, Charlene. The COVID pandemic has led to a surge in the number of orphans around the world. This crisis is a major challenge for both social service agencies and Christian ministries trying to help these children now on their own. CBN's Wendy Griffith has more.
It's a hidden tragedy caused by the coronavirus. A new study finds more than 1.5 million children have lost either a parent or a grandparent who helped care for them.
Of course, we were not prepared as the society to embrace this.
Natalia Komyak with CBN's Orphans Promise says the number of new orphans, combined with government restrictions due to COVID, has been overwhelming.
All of our human methods, all of our processes, methodologies, everything was failing. We could not, we were literally, what we had to do is sit down, go back to the drawing board and just pray and just say, God, what do we do? How do we respond?
Komyak says the COVID orphan crisis is unique from others, caused by tragedies like AIDS, famine, or war, because those tend to be more localized and predictable. She says COVID is different.
All over the world, it's changing all the time, and it's hitting all layers of population. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. It doesn't matter your hygiene skills we found. Like nothing matters, So really, this is the time where we've seen that it made us all equal.
In the Ukraine, she says God helped them find new strategies, such as taking food directly to people's homes because the pandemic shut down their training center. For a single mom taking care of her 6 children, it was life-saving.
She said, come here, I'm cooking my last potato on the stove. And she said, literally, as I was lighting it up, I was like, how am I going to divide this between these kids? And not even talking about myself. And I just cried out, I said, okay, God, if you truly are real, can you do something right now, show up? And she said, that's when you guys knocked on the door and came in with food.
The COVID orphan crisis also comes at a time when international adoptions are down.
I think families, while they've had more time to explore adoption, there's just a hesitancy to think about starting an international process with vaccine requirements and different requirements to come and go across borders. And so there's just some families that are hesitant.
Newell, who leads the country's largest evangelical Christian adoption agency, says Christians need to step up now more than ever. And if you can't adopt, you can always pray.
I have 3 children, and we pray over them every night before they go to bed. Our parents are praying for them. Our family members are praying for them. But who's praying for the orphan around the world? And so we may not know their name. We may not know where they're located. We may not know who they are. But the Lord that we're praying to knows them.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
1.5 million orphans so far through the pandemic. Such great need, Gordon.
It's a huge need, and let me add one more thing, that if you can adopt, and then you can pray, but you can also give. You can help orphans in need. Orphans Promise is reaching out around the world. They're now in over 60 nations. This is a worldwide pandemic, and we need to be there for those who have nothing. Imagine being that mother to say, here's my last potato. It's like a story from the Bible. Here's our last bit of flour. I was going to make a cake, and my son and I were going to eat it, and then we were going to die. Who shows up? The prophet, and saying, okay, we're going to provide. Who showed up for that woman with that one potato? Orphans Promise. If you want to be a part of it, give and say, yes, I want to help orphans today. 1-800-700-7000.